What's up, Mock Crew? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I am Chris with Monsters Under Our Bed. I cover murder, mystery to the missing, and today we're going to be talking about the OceanGate subvessel called the Titan, which goes down and checks out the Titanic wreck. And there's 5 passengers on board, so it went missing on or lost contact on Sunday, early Sunday, and and it hasn't been heard from since. But there has been some updates, and I don't know about you guys, but I have been glued to the TV and phone on this case because right now they supposedly had 96 hours of oxygen. That's for 5 people, and apparently, if that's true, that leaves them until tomorrow morning. And then there's supposedly signs of banging, which would mean that they are, at the very least, as yesterday and maybe today, they were still alive. That hasn't been 100% confirmed, but we'll definitely dive into everything. Even if you haven't heard this case, we'll go through it all. But before we get started, I always like to give back by featuring the missing. So today's missing, we have Matthew Murphy. Went missing last month on May 17th. 36 years old, 5'9", 180 pounds, light brown hair, hazel eyes. No tattoos or piercings. In the notes, it says Matthew is believed to be living on the streets of Tempe or Phoenix and may be in active addiction. His family is concerned for his safety and would like to locate and offer help. If you have seen Matthew, please contact the number below, which is the Tempe Police Department at 480-350-8311. Okay, so let me close that out. And so we'll basically go through the timeline, the latest updates, and I even found some videos, and one in particular I found, I think it was yesterday. Really interesting, and I've got the link to the video in the description, and if you guys want, after we watch it, I can put the link to it in the chat. It's a video where it's a guy, I'm not sure his qualifications exactly, but some kind of engineer or something, but knows submarines very well. And anyway, he did a video on this vessel, just kind of researching it, and he kind of gives his input on, the way it was built and some of the things that, could cause problems. And I found it absolutely fascinating. So we'll definitely take a look at that. So let me just check the chat and just let me know. Let's see, what do we got in here? I really don't have anything on as mods, so if it does get fast, just please let me know. And of course, shout out to my lovely mods who do an amazing job. Molly, D-Dez, Karen Lee, Copper Horrors, Jennifer, and Michaela. Thank you guys so much for your hard work. So let's see, get caught up. Okay. All right, so we'll go over just a little bit of the background on this, and then don't do that to me. Make this a little smaller. So that's just a little background on OceanGate. So OceanGate was founded by CEO Stockton Rush, who is actually out there right now, one of the 5. He founded OceanGate in 2009. The company is headquartered in Everett, Washington. So how many times has OceanGate been out to the Titanic? So this marks OceanGate's 3rd expedition to the Titanic wreckage. So they've been out there the 2 years previous. So in 2021, they did a bunch of trips. In 2022, they did a couple of trips. This year was going to be the only trip because I guess the weather had been bad and they really only had a small window, and so they went for it, but unfortunately that didn't turn out too well. But so it's kind of 50-50. So they're obviously you can be a passenger for $250,000, and you can go down there. Uh, and we'll look at the promo video. I've got the promo video, which is kind of interesting. It kind of literally tells you, what to expect on this 10-day mission, and which, yeah, 10-day mission, which includes 8 days at the sea. So they kind of basically prep you for a few days, and then you get, I think, a couple of multiple attempts to go down there. It's kind of interesting. But not only do they go down and check out, bring down tourists or whatever, but they do also have other things they want to do. They want to conduct scientific and technological surveys of the Titanic wreck, which includes collecting images, video, and sonar data to study the site and the rate of the decay. So, kind of interesting. This talks about what is a submersible versus a submarine. A submersible is obviously much smaller. Usually, some of these are not even man powered; they're just remote controlled. But this one in particular is a manned vessel, but it unlike a submarine, this little vessel needs support from a mother vessel, which in this instance they have a vessel at the top called the Polar Prince. The Titan can hold 5 people and travel to the depths of 13,000 feet, which is where how deep the Titanic is. It's dubbed as the only submersible that can take 5 people to those depths of the ocean. The company says the 23,000-pound vessel made of titanium and carbon filament was designed for site survey and inspection, research and data collection, film and media production, and deep sea testing of hardware and software. Now, this is interesting. The video and the guy that I talked about earlier that we'll watch a little later on, he has some some questionable concerns, I guess I should say, about the way they built this particular sub. So, and the carbon, and he's actually, the carbon itself is one of the things that he had a concern with. And there's a video on actually of it being built, and so we'll look at that. It's kind of interesting. Let me check chat here for just a minute. Oh, Stacy, thank you so much for gifting 5 memberships. Matter of fact, I'm working on another membership video. I just put one out, I think this last weekend. I did the UFO thing because I thought that was kind of interesting. But thank you so much, Stacy D, for the 5 gifted memberships. Let's see, get caught up here. Okay. So now the timeline of the disappearance. So Titan. So now there has been, I guess, with OceanGate, they've had different submersibles. This one is the Titan, which ironically, Titanic. I forget the names off the top of my head, but they did have. I've seen at least 1 or 2 other vessels they have, and we'll probably see it in the promo video. So anyway, so Sunday, this 4 days ago, submerged at 8 a.m. I'm not sure if that's Eastern or where they're at, but they say 8 a.m. Sunday morning, 400 miles southeast of St. John's, Newfoundland. Near to where the famous shipwreck lies, almost 13,000 feet under the ocean. So at 9:45, so an hour and 45 minutes after its departure, it lost contact with the mothership Polar Prince, but wasn't reported missing to the Coast Guard until 5:40 p.m., some 8 hours later. So some people are raising concerns about that. Why didn't they say something sooner? And apparently, so what it takes about, so when they drop this thing, it takes almost about 2 hours approximately to get to the bottom. And we'll learn in some videos and people that have ridden on this thing previously, they have run into problems many times. Usually a communication problem with between the sub and the mothership. But then they get in contact. But it's had many problems. It's usually to do with the some kind of signal loss. So I don't know if maybe they were just expecting that was the problem, and eventually they would get in contact with it. Um, I forget the total time I'd normally be down there because it's 2 hours to go down, about the same to get back up, and I'm not sure how much time they spend down there. I don't know if it's like 2 to 4 hours approximately when they're down there. I'd just say somewhere in that range. I think it's like a 6 to 8 hour window from going down and then coming all the way back up. Let's see. According to others who have been in the submersible before, claim that they had multiple issues with communication lost between mothership, Polar Prince, and the sub Titan, but always came back. So the passengers on board, we've got the CEO, and I'm sorry this wasn't the best pictures, but we've got Stockton Rush here, the CEO of OceanGate. Then we have the other part of the crew, which is Paul. He's a French mariner. Then we have the three passengers, which is the British businessman Hamish Harding, and then sadly the Pakistan father and son make up the five passengers. So moving on to Monday. So after calling the Coast Guard, and then of course, they're hundreds of miles from, the nearest coast, Newfoundland. So obviously, any ship that's going to come out is going to take some time. I mean, every ship's different, but maybe some of the faster ships could go like 30 knots, which is knots you can kind of equate to miles per hour. There's some difference, but you could almost say like 30 to 35 miles per hour. But they've got to travel 400 plus miles, so it takes a while. But of course, they started U.S. and Canadian ships and planes started to surround the area, and some dropped sonar buoys that can monitor the depth up to 13,000 feet. Um, let's see, and here's a picture of one of the ships. I think this is the ship. This picture here is the ship that is actually let's see, does it say down here? I'm not sure. We'll have to come back to this picture. This may be the ship that is supposed to be arriving any minute or soon to the site, which is going to have some amazing. It's got some ROVs that can actually make it down all the way down to the actual wreckage. So then Tuesday comes along. So rescuers had been searching for roughly 48 hours and covered 10,000 square miles of ocean with no sign of the missing sub. At 1 p.m. Eastern, the U.S. Coast Guard delivered an update, and that's when they claimed at that time they had approximately 40 to 41 hours of oxygen remaining. So pretty much half of what they originally had out of the 96 hours that they had before, which would mean that would leave them until tomorrow morning, Thursday, if depending, I mean, there could be variables. But then there was some breaking news, and it wasn't really confirmed until, I don't know, late last night, today. But there was rumors. It started with Rolling Stones, and then CNN kind of picked it up. But they said that they heard when they dropped these sonar buoys, they started picking up what sounded like banging on the hull, which was coming in like 30-minute intervals, which is interesting because if it's actually coming in intervals, I understand, there could be, marine life or even boats that could be being picked up on that. But if it's coming in intervals of 30 minutes, I think that's a good sign. And especially there's been some that, said it could have been an SOS message, which we'll look at. Let me read this and I'll catch up on chat here in a minute. So yeah, that kind of started out as kind of more of a rumor, but then they did kind of verify that this banging did happen, and which is kind of really over the Titanic wreckage site. So moving on to today, 2 a.m. So real early this morning, Homeland Security. This is how they got the emails. I think Rolling Stone, something from the DHS. They talked about the sono buoys, which reported a contact in a position close to the distress position. The P8 hearing banging sounds in the area every 30 minutes. 4 hours later, additional sonar was deployed and banging was still heard. So I think that's a great sign. Then 6:45 a.m. heavy machinery and subs that are set to be used in last attempt to find a missing Titan arrived in Canada are deployed. During the daytime, okay, they talk about the press conference because they couldn't really confirm what was actually going on with the banging, and I can kind of understand that. If we get some time, I do have clips of everything, even today's latest press conference. Today's one was pretty short, and they didn't really answer any questions. But now they have a French research ship. This is the one that people are excited for because it has an unmanned robot called Victor 6000. This thing can actually dive apparently all the way down to the very bottom, because apparently from what they had up until now is, I think from what I understand on some interviews, is they did have some ROVs either yesterday and today, but those ROVs can't go all the way down because they can't take the pressure. They can only go like halfway down, whereas I think this guy here can go all the way down. And also, I'm not sure if it's the same vessel or another vessel. It's going to have a huge winch that can bring down a cable. So that's some really good news. Everything's kind of getting there last minute, but better late than never. Let's see. Okay, so this is just a picture of the Victor 6000 underwater, which looks pretty cool. Okay, so before we get on to the issues that could have happened, let me check the chat here and then we'll get back into it. Let's see. Oh, I know I missed some here. Miranda Lee missed posting this earlier due to being in the hospital. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Thank you for all you do, Chris. I'm glad to be a member of your channel. Thank you so much, Miranda Lee. And best wishes. Hope everything gets better. Please show some love to Miranda in the chat. And just want to thank everybody for taking the time to show up. And if you can, please hit that like button. It helps the show so much. All right. See what we got here. So Michelle, so if they find them, are they putting a submarine down there to rescue them? So I've heard the last thing before I went live is I've heard a couple of, some experts on panel kind of, brainstorming what they could be doing. They could say, because obviously they couldn't just. I don't have much knowledge about these vessels, so just take everything with a grain of salt. But I'm assuming what one guy was mentioning is that so they drop a winch down, and then the winch could be hooked up to the, say like the Victor, and then the Victor could just bring down the winch all the way down, especially if it has any kind of retractable arms, and then could maybe winch up the, tie up the sub at the bottom. I think the big problem is they still need to actually find it. I think they have an idea of where it's at, especially if all the banging is coming from them. But we're going to talk about what could have happened. But yeah, that's interesting because um, yeah, it's terrible that they still haven't made it to the top. All right, we'll keep going here, and then we'll get back to chat here. Okay, so some issues that could have happened, and there's so many, but we'll just go over some of the main ones. Obviously, the big one is they only have 96 hours of oxygen life support, um, and then the other factor that they gotta uh, factor in is the hypothermia, depending on if they brought warm clothing or not. Um, and apparently I think towards the top is it's 40, the average ocean temperature is 41 degrees Fahrenheit, 5 degrees Celsius, but when you get towards the bottom I think it is, I want to say 35 approximately, somewhere in that window. I know it's going to come up here, but I think it's in the mid 30s, which is right close to freezing temperature. So that would be kind of scary to, unless they do have some kind of warm clothing on them. And then, of course, I mean, there's 5 people, so you could, group together and kind of keep your body heat. Um, the other big problem is the vessel is not stocked with food and water. Apparently, when they go on these trips, they normally bring like a sandwich and a bottle of water. Um, and I don't know if everybody does that or just a couple of people. So that's what scares me is the water situation because, um, you know, there's 5 days of life support, but can they go 5 days without water? I mean, depending on, how much there was or not. So that's kind of scary to get down to that. I mean, there are alternatives. I don't want to get too disgusting, but there are ways to prolong drinking fluids, if you guys know what I mean. Um, okay, so I think I meant to put that one part in a different category. So some issues that could have actually happened. So one of the main ones would be a breach in the hull, which would just cause a catastrophic demise to the sub, instantly imploding the vehicle due to the pressure of the ocean, which would be, from what I understand, from like a snap of a finger. So if there was any kind of break in the hull, and something that we're going to learn in this video we'll watch soon, is the one thing that he had a concern about the carbon weave that they made this out of, is it's kind of like a porcelain, I don't know if he says porcelain doll or just porcelain capsule that when it breaks it just shatters. So it's not the best thing that he would have chose, even though it can withstand the pressures. But he described that these vessels, especially have the carbon, they do take a toll every time they go down there, so they kind of get worn. And because I did notice they've had at least one or two other vehicles, so I wonder if they changed their vehicles after so many times. But that's one thing. But here's just kind of another look at the vehicle and kind of when they're sitting. Obviously, it's a little minivan type machine, not much room. Everybody's sitting down, and they do have slight towards where the aft, I guess that's the aft, fore aft, but the front of the boat where the little nose is at, where the window, there's like a little section where there's a potty. It's a little bit more roomier right there, I guess, but it's still a very tight situation. Check my thing here. Other issues, electrical issues, this is probably the one that's mentioned the most, is just some kind of either just small electrical issue or even worse could be electrical fire, which would really be a big problem. Um, but with just an electrical issue, they could have just sunk. And so, what happens with this vessel? Actually, I'll talk about that in a minute because it's going to be the next one. But the electrical issue, that's one they're thinking could be a good possibility to happen, especially if they're hearing them knocking on the hull. That means the vehicle's intact and it hasn't been breached. So I guess that's a good sign. But a problem would be, especially during the early few days, is if the environment wasn't getting scrubbed for, there's got to be a happy level of oxygen and carbon dioxide, because if it's too heavy oxygen, you get a spark or anything and you're toast. So that was another thing that this guy brings up in his video, which I thought was kind of interesting. Is a tiny little spark in a heavy, rich oxygen tank. It's not a good thing. Um, Now this is the other one. So I think it's a combination of the electrical and this, in my opinion. So the sub drops by ballast, which are kind of like weights. So when they let this guy go from the dock it has, it just floats down with the weights that are attached to it, which are called ballast. And in this instance, in which a lot of people are giving this guy criticism for, is he's using construction pipes, um, but which is pictured here. I think these are the ones that were on the ship. But anyway, so yeah, they have these weights that are attached to the ship. So basically, what it does is they drop the ship and it comes down, and they really don't even run the motors because they want to save as much energy as possible. So really, they're just kind of trying to keep in contact with the mothership, and this is via text, some kind of text communication, which is another issue this kind of expert talks about. Is this guy chose a kind of a different system when it came to communication. He didn't agree with. But apparently, so this thing gets just dropped, by the weight, and so it slowly takes about 2 hours to get to the bottom. Now they don't drop it above where the wreckage site is, so you wouldn't just drop right where, if you're, you know, um, above the ocean, you don't want to drop right down onto the Titanic. Um, so they usually, I don't know how many miles, but I don't know how, 20 miles or whatever, they, or less than that maybe, but um, they go out a bit away from the wreck site, and then drop down, and then when they get close to the surface is when they kind of kick everything on, um, and then they kind of start slowly running the motors so they don't slam into the ground. But if they would have had some kind of problem with the electrical system, that wouldn't have happened, and who knows, how hard did they come down. And another thing that we learned through other people who experienced this kind of expedition is, although it's pretty calm under that deep of water, you do kind of get rogue currents that will push you. And so it would be really bad if there was a combination of some rogue currents that took them, and then they actually just kind of crashed down somewhere in the Titanic site somewhere, which would be really bad. And then, so what's supposed to happen is these ballasts are supposed to be released, and this is done by a dead man switch. And once those go, you just automatically just float back up to the top. But if you're stuck, that's not going to happen. All right, let me go through a little bit more and I'll get caught up in chat. Let me know, mods, how the speed's going. We're kind of getting high. Actually, I might, give me a second, guys. Let me just, guess we do got quite a few in here. And just once again, thank you to everybody taking the time out of their day to watch the show. It means so much to me. You guys are so awesome. And prayers to everybody involved in this incident here. just going to go ahead and let me know, mods, how this... Gosh, it's been a while. I'm going to slow the chat down just a little bit. Let me know how that is. And then I'll try to get to some comments here in just a minute. I'm going to finish up here. Another backup. So, and we'll watch this video. He talks vaguely about it. I was hoping to get more. This is one thing I was really hoping to get some answers for you guys. Is figure out all the actual backup plans for this specific ship. So according to OceanGate's video, they claim this vessel has, and I think it's even by the CEO, he says 6 or 7 backup plans, including the one we talked about, the dead man switch, which causes the ballasts to disengage from the sub, which causes the sub to rise back up to the surface safely. And that's supposedly happen automatically whether you do it or not, from what I understand. Eventually that thing's just supposed to go. But if they didn't float to the top, that's got to mean they've got to be stuck down there. Sadly. That's just my opinion, but I don't know for sure. So backup and upcoming plans, mini ships are there, plus more on the way, including one with the the winch and the ROV that we just talked about, the Victor 6000. And so yeah, here's just kind of a picture, and it's kind of weird. So this box, because I was like, what does this mean? So this red dot, this is where the Titanic is, and so we've already got some Canadian vessels, the Polar Prince, which is the mothership out there, the Atlantic Merlin, another Canadian vessel, the Vinland. This one had the 2 ROVs that have been out there, but they can't operate at their ROVs can't go all the way down. They can only go like halfway down. So sadly if they're at the bottom, these ROVs really can't do anything, and they're not going to be able to see, because it's 2 miles down approximately. So if they're only a mile down, there's it's pitch black. But this ship is going to be this is going to be a huge lifesaver, hopefully. It's the French ship. I'll probably butcher the name. It's Atalante. El Atalante. I'm sure I just butchered that. My apologies. But this is the one that's got the ROV. I saw somewhere where it was about a couple of hours away from the wreckage site, I think. So I think they're pretty close to being there, which is great, because they've got and they could be there already. This is, I'm just kind of guessing. If we get a chance, I'll look at the ocean, the vessels, and see where they're at. So and then the big thing, signs of life, hopefully. Banging sounds heard since Tuesday, and heard today as well. So yeah, Tuesday, Wednesday. And according to some sources, they believe it's coming from the sub. The sounds are coming from the area of where the sub was last seen, which is the wreckage. And the Morse code for SOS is three quick dots. So SOS, so you got 3 quick dots, 3 slow dots, or 3 dashes, you would say, and then of course 3 more dots. So dots are really fast, and then the dashes are slow. And so apparently there is some reports that these banging sounds sounded like SOS messages. I think just even the fact that if they were coming in 30-minute intervals, that I think that you can exclude marine life if that continued for hours in 30-minute intervals, and pretty much exclude everything else except for them. But that's just my opinion. All right, so we're almost ready to do the video, and while I'm watching the videos, we'll kind of get to some chat here. So yeah, the biggest problem at the moment is that they've heard something, but they have not actually gotten visual sights of this sub yet. But if it's at the bottom, then of course, so far they haven't had anything to be able to go down to that depth to be able to find it. So, but now with this the ship coming on its way, that's on its way, that's going to be huge. And I wonder how long it takes for that particular ROV to get down there. But so hopefully some good news. And I mean, hopefully they can deduce that if this ship hasn't came up on its own, then it's got to be. I hope they go down to the Titanic, and that would be my first place to look. And they just ended up somewhere, caught something on the Titanic. Okay, so get some videos ready. Let me check the chat for a minute, and then for those that are tuning in, oops, let me pull this up. Welcome. Please hit the like button if you can. It helps support this channel. I talked earlier about I got some different videos. I got a little bit of the press conference, but the big one I want to show you guys, which I'm going to kind of save towards the end, but it's coming soon, is a video from a kind of a submarine expert, and he kind of breaks down. He does a video. I didn't take his whole video, but I took some highlights from it, and it's very fascinating stuff because he just kind of breaks down the kind of some of the videos that he was able to collect from OceanGate, and then kind of voice his concerns on looking on how it was built and some of the technology that's used, and yeah. So I'm going to get the video ready here, and then I'll kind of play the video and then look at comments, and then I'll probably pause the video and respond to comments and kind of multitask that way. Oh, jumped over there, didn't you? Okay, there's no sound yet. Give me 1 second. Make sure I'm going to take my board. Oh, no, not that one. There we go. I'm going to take that down just to give it a little bit more room. So this first video is part of their promotion video. It's not all of it, but just some highlights of it.
OceanGate Expeditions offers you the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be a specially trained crew member safely diving to the Titanic wreckage site. Get ready for what Jules Verne could only imagine, a 12,500-foot journey to the bottom of the sea. It's the OceanGate Titanic experience. Earning raves from those who've taken our unforgettable dives.
There's no other trip like this. Fewer people have been to Titanic than have been to space. It's tougher to go to the bottom of the ocean than it is to the far side of the moon. So we saw things that maybe human eyes have never seen before.
Wow.
This is not a thrill ride for tourists. It's much more. It is an 8-day, one-of-a-kind experience. You will be trained as a mission specialist and record valuable findings.
A citizen scientist is also involved in the science. They are doing jobs that are essential to the scientific research, not just busy work. We are looking at the process of degradation at the site. We are trying to make a really good map of the site and its current state.
This is not tourism. They're contributing.
It's not a ride at Disney, There's a lot of real risk involved, and there's a lot of challenges.
We partnered with aerospace experts at the University of Washington, NASA, and Boeing on the design of our hull.
Every time you take...
So there's one issue that's brought up in this, is that they, by this guy that we'll watch eventually, this is brought up by many people as well, is that they never had the actual vessel approved by or regulated. Usually they have not only one entity, but a third party kind of inspect the vehicle to make sure it's up to standards. And in this case, this did not happen. But there's something interesting that they mentioned in this video that I find very ironic, and it's coming up, and I think it's the chef that says it. They talk about the communication between the mothership and the vessel and how great it is, but that is so off.
To the sea, there's so many things that have to go right. All the electrical systems and navigation systems that have to check out. This is a very complex vehicle.
Titan topside, you are out at 130 meters. We are in position for dive.
It's very well engineered and very safe, but then the team is very focused on safety first.
The communication.
Just let me know, is that, how's the volume on that? Can you guys hear that okay? Just put a thumbs up, need a little bit more, just let me know. Right now we're just watching, it's just some highlights of the promotional video. Just kind of interesting to kind of, this is kind of like how they promote their tourists, you know, they say, hey, you know, you're going to come on, you're going to kind of be on the boat, you're going to learn different things, you know, this is all before you even get on the ship. Which I think is great, you know, getting used to it. Of course, you got to kind of have a diet because, you know, you're going to be down there for a bit.
It's really key, I think, knowing that they never lost communication.
Not 1 second of me experiencing anything from OceanGate have I ever felt unsafe.
So, did you guys hear that? Never lost communication. And I think this video, I'm not sure. I better not say it because I want to say this is last year. But some of this footage could have been filmed the year prior, so I don't know. But still, we've learned through many people that have, you know, there's a news reporter that was on the ship, which he's gonna be interviewed, and I've got a short clip of him. The second they went down there, within the first hour, they lost communication, and apparently that happened the entire time he was there. Every time they were going down, there was communication lost. So I thought it was kind of ironic that they say there's, you know, no communication.
You pointed out on the bridge earlier, your safety plans all around the vessel?
All mission specialists get to dive down to the Titanic, but the full experience entails much more. It begins with boarding day in picturesque St. John's, Newfoundland. Mission specialists meet each other before countdown to launch.
See this? Okay, so that's the Titan. Okay, because in this video you do see two different ships, and I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but it's clearly this is the latest one. But they did have another ship, and I'm just kind of curious what happened to that one. Did they retire it, or?
Roger, platform, ready to dive.
Mission directors go.
This was actually my very first time. That was the first time that I'd been inside a sub, and it was really kind of a wonderful experience.
And you know you are in the deep, but you don't feel it.
So it's your big day.
It is my big day.
How are you feeling?
Very excited.
To softly land like that with just a little puff of debris was movie-like. It was sort of dramatic in front of me playing out, and it was breathtaking.
So yeah, he's literally talking about, because like I said, they, you know, when they drop these things, they have the ballast, the weights, and they don't really use motor. They want to conserve energy, so it's all just being dropped by weights going down, and then when they get close to the bottom, then they kind of kick on the motor, so they don't, you know, I don't know how fast they're going when they're dropping, but yeah, if they had no, if it was some kind of electrical thing, then they probably kind of smacked the bottom hard, and maybe, like I said, they got hit by a current, and, you know, they're supposed to be dropped miles away from the actual wreck site so they don't land on top of it. They land close to it, and then they, you know, get closer to the wreck site. But but I thought it was interesting that he talks about that actual experience of actually kind of hitting the ground almost.
So it's very emotional.
For mission specialists,
let me grab this real quick. Stacy D, such a horrific story. Thank you for your coverage. Thank you so much, Stacy D, member for a whole year. That is so awesome. Thank you so much for the support. Shout out to the members. Really keeps my channel going. And for those that are kind of new to the channel, I not only cover true crime and mysteries and stuff like this, but we do go out and help the missing. And work cold cases, and that's all because of you guys. So, all right, I'm going to look for some comments while I'm playing.
it's not aboard the Titan sub. There's a full calendar of things to do.
This looks fun.
Lectures, screenings, tours of the ship's vast resources, including the engine rooms and recovery apparatus. Experts.
For me, it's very well done because it's simple. a lot of equipment and a lot of switch. And on this one, you don't have because you work with a screen and with a keyboard, and it's very easy to do that. You are not only a passenger seat and waiting that the time is running and just looking outside. You can do something inside. You can be really a member of the team.
Okay, skip this forward here because I've got quite a bit of video. All right, so here's kind of a look on the inside. I'm sure many of you guys have seen the inside if you followed this story, but I think this is still part of the promotion video.
Hi, my name is Stockton Rush. I'm the CEO and founder of OceanGate. Let's take a look at Titan.
So I'm sure many of you have seen this. A lot of people have a couple of problems. The main one is going to come up real soon.
So we're coming into the sub. This is the only toilet available on a deep diving submersible. Best seat in the house. You can look out the viewport. We put a privacy screen in, turn up the music, and it's very popular. We have our control screen here, our sonar screen here, and we can put any image we want in the back. We've taken a completely new approach to the sub design, and it's all run with this game controller and these touch screens. So if you want to go forward, you press forward. If you want to go back, you go back. Turn left, turn right, go down, go up. And it's Bluetooth, so I can hand it to anybody. And it's meant for a 16-year-old to throw it around, and super durable. We keep a couple of spares on board just in case.
So let me know your thoughts of what you think about this. This has been getting a lot of heat, the whole controller thing. But I think he mentions in this video that you can also use like the touch screen or tablets or both to control it. I don't know, fully control it like the controller or not. And then some people are asking, well, does it have batteries? Usually that's a Logitech, I'm not sure exact model, but that's a Logitech controller. Those usually, yes, they have Bluetooth, but those usually will have a USB cord that you just charge it. Those usually, they stopped doing the battery thing a few years ago. So you would obviously just have a USB. Anybody who has a PlayStation 5, Xbox, same thing. But yeah, still a lot of people, I can understand the controls, that makes sense, but not having like a primary or backup besides controls, that's a little scary. And yeah, that's gotten a lot of attention for sure. Yeah, they do carry a spare, and it does sound like, I think you said that, you can also control it on the touch screen, which, I mean, yeah, I'd prefer the controller over the touch screen, but you would think they would have something, if those all failed, something else. But yeah, that's definitely, yeah, see, in some ways I agree, because to control it, that makes sense, because you control drones really the same way. Like the drones that, even the more expensive military drones are really controlled not with a Logitech controller, but really two joysticks and some buttons. So in a sense, it's the same thing. So I don't know how much stock I'd put it into that, but I know it's gotten a lot of attention. The Titanic, the gift keeps on giving. I would love to go see that. Hey, Steve, True Crime Web. I've taken great risks, but this is not on my bucket list. Hopefully a miracle happens. Yeah, totally agree. Hey, Ruckus, good to see you. Hello, chat. Thank you so much. Honored to have you both in here. Steve from True Crime Web is an associate of mine, co-partner, and he covers true crime. He's former law enforcement. You can always go check out his channel, Steve from True Crime Web. And I usually have, I think in most of my videos, I have a link to his channel in my description. Okay, so we'll keep playing here.
This is the second year we've been out to the Titanic. We went out in 5 8-day missions. We did about 10 dives to the wreck site of the Titanic, and we did an extra dive on an undiscovered reef that we found. Completely privately funded operation, and we're funded by, we call mission specialists who help support the mission. So they take quite a bit of money to come and join us. Years ago, the Russians took tourists out to the Titanic, and it was just sort of a look and see thing. We really are focusing on the science around it. We want to document what the wreck is like now, and also try to predict.
So one thing I wonder is, so as you can see, he's got a pad that he's laying on it, and so I am praying, which I'm pretty sure that this pad that he's got, there's got to be some things, because you got to think this thing's obviously a sphere, and the way it's padded, there's obviously storage space right under where he's sitting, all the way, from front to back. So I'm hoping, maybe that's where the oxygen tanks are, maybe some bottles of water, maybe a sleeping bag, or some kind of thermal. So I'm hoping they've got some things stocked under this particular mat. You would think, because you can kind of see where the cord's on the right. Oh, I'm blocking it. But the cords on the right, you can actually see where they go behind this rubber mat, which I don't know how thick it is, but I would hope they've got all that stuff under there. I assume most of that is. I just hope there's more than just oxygen. Hopefully some water, because apparently they only bring a sandwich and a bottle of water.
What it'll be like in the future. It's continuing to decay, and it seems to be accelerating. It's being eaten by a bacteria, so it's literally being eaten by the ocean. It's not rusting away. So these things that are called rusticles are actually the byproduct of a bacteria that eats the iron. And as it does that, these decks are collapsing. The promenade deck continues.
Okay, so let's move on. Okay, so now here's some updates, and then towards the end is where we've got the expert video that I was talking about, which I'm really excited. If you guys haven't seen, it's very fascinating.
Sits 13,000 feet under the sea. That's more than 9 times the length of the Empire State Building. Only a small group of people have ventured that far. It's part of the reason why OceanGate Exploration pitches passengers a once-in-a-lifetime experience for the price of $250,000. An 8-day journey from Newfoundland to the Titanic wreck site, about 900 miles off the coast of Cape Cod. OceanGate CEO Stockton Rush, one of those on board the Titan now, told NBC in 2022 passengers have to do more than pay a steep fee.
This is a real expedition. We have, all kinds of challenges.
Former passengers say you have to sign a massive waiver that right up front says the trip can result in death. Once passengers board the support ship, OceanGate provides a vessel orientation and safety briefing.
Roger, platform, ready to dive.
The submersible's controls are quite basic.
We run the whole thing with this game controller.
The vessel detaches and starts to submerge.
You feel something like you're in a totally different planet as you descend.
It takes about 2.5 hours to travel over 2 miles deep under the sea. Passengers describe the vessel as cold, with only one porthole to allow passengers to look outside, at just over 22 feet long and 8.3 feet high. This photo shows the seating configuration in practice. Passengers on the floor, barefoot. So, what if nature calls on the roughly 10-hour mission? There is a small bathroom with a privacy curtain, and OceanGate says they turn the music up loud. The up-close and personal view of the Titanic wreckage can last 4 or 5 hours. Passengers who have reached these depths, an exclusive club. More people have gone into space. But going this deep underwater is actually technologically harder to engineer.
This incident is causing the broader tourism industry, and especially extreme tourism, to be looked at under a close microscope to say, are we doing everything we can?
Okay, move this forward a little bit. Here. Oh, yeah, here's the picture of the... You see it briefly in some of these.
Are we minimizing risk?
And Kristen, what do we know about emergency procedures on board? Right now, well, former passengers tell us that they're taught to use this manual system where they're able to drop right and that will bring the vessel to the surface. There's also supposed to be what's called a nakeless system that automatically corrodes after about 24 hours in the water, and that also would bring the submersible up unless it's trapped beneath something. So still a lot of possibilities as they try and zero in on that banging, guys. Such a challenge.
Yeah, so that was what I was talking about, the ballast. So there's a dead man switch, and then what did she say, necklace. So there's 2 different things that are part of kind of really the same thing as those ballasts. That's really your kind of main thing, is letting go of the weights that brought you down, and then you're light enough to go back up to the top. I swear I just saw a picture. Oh, there it is. So there's a picture, because obviously this is a different vehicle, and I forget the name. I had it written down somewhere, but I've seen, when you watch the promo video, you see this one a little bit, mainly the Titan one, but obviously I had another vessel, and I was just kind of curious. I wonder what happened to that, or if they just retired that one.
You steer the ship with a controller, with a joystick from a gaming system, a home gaming system. There's special training just to learn how to get into an escape suit, in and out of that. It's a very tough thing to get into these kind of warm weather coveralls that will float you if you have to bail from a ship or escape from a submarine. Beyond that, no real training. When we went down, it was just there were communication problems on every trip I've taken. Of the 4 separate dives I've taken with OceanGate, every time there was a problem with at least sporadically communicating with the surface. And again, I don't think that's their fault as much as just that's the nature of the beast. When you're going 1,000 feet or 13,000 feet underwater, you're going to lose contact for a while.
Before we went, we had never seen the sub. We didn't know anything about it. There's very little information on the website. I didn't know at that point that you drive the thing with an Xbox game controller. I didn't know that the ballast was, used construction pipes. And then you get the tour, and Stockton Rush, the designer of the sub, the CEO, explains to you that all of this stuff, the lights and the handles.
Oh, I think, did we just get a picture? So that's a different view of the compartment up front on the other side, where he's much lower. So we can kind of see that they've got, because a lot of people are wondering, well, do they have lights? I would think you can see one right here. So they have one of those little lantern lights that, either have batteries or you charge it before. This, I can't tell if this is a flashlight or not, but I always think at the very least they'd have some of those, you get them at Walmart or even Dollar Tree, those little lights that you put in your closet or whatever, and you just push the button, and take a AA battery or 2 AAAs or whatever. So I'm assuming they would have those. So even with no electricity, they would have that. And then plus, I'm assuming, because we see in the promo video, they have their cell phones, even though obviously they're not going to have any signal. But you would have your cell phone, and obviously your cell phone, if it's charged, you would have light that way as well. So I think the light source problem wouldn't be, they would have some kind of light source, at least for the first few days.
The designer of the sub, the CEO, explains to you that all of this stuff, the lights and the handles and the propellers, these are off-the-shelf parts because, well, not only are they inexpensive, but they're tried and true. They're mass-produced. The part we care about is the pressure vessel, the capsule where the people are. And that he designed with NASA and the University of Washington. And that, he says, is as locked down as it gets. His exact words were, everything else can fail. The lights can go out, the propellers can stop, but you will still be alive. You are bolted in from the outside. There are 18 bolts in a circle around the hatch. And by the way, they only fasten 17 of them. The 18th one is way up high, and they say there's really no mathematical difference. So you're right. The really nightmarish scenario is that they are alive at the surface, bobbing away, running out of air, and unable to get out.
Yeah, it's scary. And so he went on the trip, what was it, last year, and his particular trip that only lasted an hour, they had problems and he got brought back up because they lost communication, sadly. So let me get to some chat here. Oh, this is okay. So this is the video of the ROV that could be hopefully the lifesaver, or at least get something going. I believe that is the one. It looks close to it. So let me get to some chat for a minute and I'll keep playing here. And then we're about 10-15 minutes to the video with the expert, which I'm really excited to play for you guys. So shout out to E. Caroline. Good to see you. I just had somebody. I can't see him. Nurse Carolyn's been praying. Yeah. I see a lot of people say there's no way I'd get inside that vehicle. There's one about claustrophobia. I've got the same problem. Where did it go? Can't find it. And mods, let me know how the chat speed is, because we are getting up there. So, and just once again, thank you guys so much for everything. I think we can allow some of these comments that are being said. I mean, they're not dark. I think we're okay. Some of these comments that I'm seeing being blocked, because I was going to obviously use the same verbiage as, in a way, it would be kind of like being in a coffin, because it's dark. There's, like I said, unless they have the lighting system, but you would be just cramped, and it would feel something like that. All right.
Men and his son split into two pieces as it sank back in 1912, and those sections now lie amidst a huge debris field on the seabed. Navigating the wreck is extremely difficult.
I think I'm going to skip this one here.
International assistance with the 1st Coast Guard District, and I'll provide an update on our ongoing search efforts for the Titanic.
Okay. I think we got a good portion of you guys, so I'm going to go ahead and play that video now, and then maybe we'll jump to the press brief. Press conference today was nothing too much. They did acknowledge the banging sounds, which is the first time since it was brought up by Rolling Stone and CNN. So it was kind of interesting but they really didn't want to say anything much more than they know of the banging, but they don't know. They can't confirm where it's if it's coming from the vessel or not, which I can understand. They have to be very careful on what they say in this situation. So I'm going to skip it forward to this guy that I found very fascinating here. And okay, here he is. This guy's amazing. So I took about 30-40% of his video, cut it up a little bit, and like I said, I've got the link to this video in the description, and I'll put it in the link here when we're done watching it. Very fascinating. This guy's, I've actually ended up watching some of his videos that have nothing to do with this thing, and this guy's very smart, and I like his work.
Brief. I am a 20-year submarine.
So his YouTube channel is called the Sub Brief.
Hello and welcome to the OceanGate Expeditions Update. My name is Aaron. I am the CEO and founder of Subbrief. I am a 20-year submarine veteran from the United States Navy Submarine Force and a subject matter expert in submarines. I'm here to give you my opinion on what happened with this Titan tragedy today. So the OceanGate Expedition is a manned submarine transport company that leverages college graduate engineers with off-the-shelf technology for cost-effective subsea research. On Sunday.
Okay, how's the volume? Is it me or is it the video? Let me know. No, as a matter of fact, I'll get the mic just a little bit closer. When I start reading chat, I kind of move away from my mic because my chat's over here. Eventually, I'm going to get a bigger screen so I don't have to go move in because then I'm talking. So my apologies, Gloria. Let me know. How is that? That should be much better. So this video, I'll just recap for those that might have not heard this. This is the YouTube channel. Subbrief. He's got expertise in submarine knowledge and kind of how they're built. Really amazing. I just found it, but he did a video 2 days ago, maybe 3 days ago. I think it was Monday, on this vessel and some problems and concerns, I should say, that he noticed.
June 18th, 2023, OceanGate suffered loss of communication with their Titan submarine, a deep diving Cyclops class. Titan was designed to take up to 5 people to the Titanic wreck site and other deep water locations. As the Titan descended with its crew of 5 to the Titanic wreck, an hour and 40 minutes into the dive, communication with the submersible was lost. This is about the same time that she was scheduled to drop ballast and touch bottom at near the 2-hour mark. So those may be connected. We're not sure yet. Loss of the Titan is a 21,000-pound, 22-foot long, electrically driven submarine for 5 people. The test depth is calculated to be 4,000 meters, and this is kind of key, because right now this is just the naval architect engineering calculating the strength of the pressure vessel without an actual dynamic test at sea at this point, 4,000 meters. It is built of 5 inches of carbon fiber with a titanium hatch glued on the bow and a steel or titanium dome on the aft. It has 96 hours of life support, which is very vague. We'll talk a little bit more about that. Sensors and systems on board are built and produced by Teledyne Blueview. They have the 2D sonar and the Doppler Velocity INS, which is an inertial navigation system that is upgraded with the ultra-short baseline, which means it's very accurate at calculating motion while submerged. And this system, I know, is very good. I have no questions about the Teledyne equipment. It's probably the best thing on this thing that actually works. All right, so here's the pressure hull under construction.
So this is obviously the hull, the main part of the ship, and he's going to talk about the concerns he has on the way these are made. Even though they can, obviously, the way they're built can withstand that pressure, there's things that can happen.
As you can see, it's just a carbon fiber weave that is just loomed left and right until it becomes 5 inches thick. It's a carbon fiber wrap that's designed to withstand the pressures of 4,000 meters of sea depth. Here is a video of it being, of the titanium hatch rings being installed on one of the ends. Watch this. That's the adhesive right there. Think of it like a very thick glue. It's going to bond the titanium ring that you see there onto the carbon fiber pressure hull. And they only get one chance to do this because once it's on, that bonding agent adheres. And it's not coming back off again after this. So they very carefully line it up, and it looks like they got it right. So good job getting the hatch rings on. This is going to go on both sides, the forward bow and the aft section. Here's what the aft section looks like. The aft section is simply an aft dome that is placed on that titanium ring. On the front, there is an access hatch that we'll show you here in a second. But now I want you to watch this short interview that the CEO of OceanGate, Mr. Stockton Rush, had with Teledyne Marine representatives. Teledyne Marine are making the sonar systems and inertial navigation systems for this vessel. But listen to what he talks about. The CEO talks about hiring people.
Yes, I mean, when I started the business, one of the things...
Is there
Okay. So like I said, I don't want to be playing this whole video, so I'll just kind of give you a rundown of what he talks about there. So in this video, the CEO talks about, he wants to hire newer, younger people because they're more inspiring, which, is great. But he says, this expert here says, you need a mix, you need some veterans in there as well to kind of lead these guys. You can't just have a bunch of, college kids who, I'm sure are smart, but, the experience of veterans. And so he feels this was a huge, a concern to him about how he's put together his crew. So let me get to these. Miss Lori Smith, thank you so much for the $4.99 super sticker. You are so awesome. Donations help this channel so much, and thank you so much. Please show her some love in the chat. And Becky G, thank you so much for the $5 super sticker as well. You are so awesome. And just to everybody here taking the time out of their day to watch my channel, thank you so much. Okay, keep going. Now the controller. Everybody always brings up the controller. Now, I don't think he watched as much videos as I did. I'm sure, he's watched some since. Keep in mind, this was probably done on Monday, but...
a USB port where in a pinch, you could plug the controller into whatever system you have there, and actually the controller doesn't have to maintain a Bluetooth connection. Did you bring a spare? And does that spare sync properly if the primary controller doesn't work? Like, are these things that they thought about? I hope so. We don't know.
So we actually do know some of that. So yes, he does obviously talk about that. He has 2 controllers, and these don't take batteries. Pretty much, I mean, there's some Xbox versions that still did try to do the stupid battery thing, but now all controllers are just like anything, rechargeable. You just plug it in and they recharge. So, and then when obviously you're charging it, especially with a controller like this, it's basically like it's connected to the unit. So it doesn't need the Bluetooth once it's connected through USB port.
They've only shown this one. All right, so let's talk about access. This is the bow or the front of the Titan. And the only way in and out of the submarine is through this forward hatch that is held on by 17 bolts. There is no other egress. There's no other way out of the submarine other than through the 17 bolted hatch. And there's no way to open it from the inside. You can't undo the bolts from the inside or swing the hatch open. You are completely dependent on the surface support vessel topside whenever you get in this thing, that they're going to let you back out before your 96 hours of air runs out. So he talks about taking examples and learning lessons from the aviation community. Well, one of the worst non-flight disasters in NASA history was from the Apollo 1, where 3 astronauts lost their lives doing a systems check on the launch pad while they were bolted into their capsule. There was a fire that started in there. They were alive when the fire started. They reported it to the control center, said, get us out of here, there's a fire. And before they could get the bolts off, the astronauts had passed away. This is a very important lesson learned that apparently Stockton didn't learn from, or at least forgot, because he's locking people into this submarine with no way for them to quickly get out themselves in the case of a casualty. So let's talk about life support.
Okay, so yeah, great point. And that's obviously another thing that's been brought up is those 17 bolts on the outside, which is interesting because one of their other vessels, they did have like a top dome on that one. And maybe they didn't take that one down to the Titanic. Maybe they took that one maybe to like coral reefs and stuff like that. But yeah, kind of scary. And especially what happened to those guys on Apollo 1, because, electrical fire, and then they couldn't get those guys out.
The datasheet claims that it has 96 hours of life support for 5 people. My question is, how was this tested? Did they put 5 people in the submarine while it was ashore, sealed them in there with 17 bolts, and waited even 24 hours to see how good the air quality was after 1 day, much less 4 days? Was that test ever done? We don't know. There's no information on that. There's simply a claim on the website that they have 96 hours of life support. Where is the atmosphere monitoring system? In all these photos, I don't see any air pitons or sensors anywhere. And in all the displays that I see from their public website, there's no indication of oxygen levels and other toxic gas levels like CO2, carbon monoxide, all these things that could generate. You need to be aware of those levels. And if they are aware, it's just not available on any of their photos. Did they just keep pumping oxygen into the capsule while it was underway so they could keep the CO2 and oxygen level in a proper ratio? Well, there's a lot of other gases involved with that you have to manage as well. So they need to keep track of that stuff. If they were just adding oxygen to the environment, well, that creates a high oxygen environment. What happens when you're locked inside a capsule in a high oxygen environment and you're operating electronics? Well, you burn up in your Apollo capsule like an astronaut. That's another possibility. Mission is complete.
But I don't think that's happened, at least. If the banging is hopefully the sign that they're still alive, that at least they didn't, nothing like that has happened. But Karen says, I've heard the oxygen runs out Thursday morning. Yeah, that's because the last contact was Sunday morning. Kind of depends on what time, depending on where you're reporting it from. I want to say it was 8 or 9 a.m. where they were at. So 96 hours would really mean tomorrow at 8 or 9 a.m. would be the 96 hour window, the end of the window. But there could be some variables, good and bad. Obviously bad if they're panicking, they could suck up more oxygen. A thing that could, let's hope it didn't happen, but if somebody passed away or had a heart attack while they were down there, when you're down to 4 people, would you then survive? Would the oxygen survive a little bit longer and they could extend that? So many possibilities, but yeah, Thursday, so we're literally less than a half a day, according to this 96-hour timeline, sadly. So here's his big PowerPoints of his concerns here. And then I'll put the link to the video here.
On the submarine, first, they used a carbon fiber pressure hull. That is great to a point. It's lightweight, it's very strong, but it's not perfect. These things are not made out of magic. And everybody that's worked with carbon fiber in the past knows that it does not crack, it shatters like a porcelain plate. So whenever it does fail, it fails quickly and unexpectedly. And because the test depth of 4,000 meters was never actually tested before they brought guests on board, this is one possibility, is that the carbon fiber pressure hull shattered. For whatever reason, maybe a defect in the construction. You can speculate all you want about that, but that's one possibility. Also, he hires young, inexperienced technicians. That alone is not a problem. I support that. It's a great idea, especially with inspiring the next generation. But with your young, inexperienced technicians, you have to hire subject matter experts in submarine operations and safety. You have to have that. And a lot of these concerns could have been addressed before you brought guests on board or you took anyone down and lost them at sea, as what appears to have happened here. It did not use lessons learned from NASA and the aviation community, as he stated he did in that interview, because he's locking people in a cylinder, in a capsule, if you will, with no way to get out, with oxygen being fed into it, and possibly a high oxygen environment resulting in a fire. Okay. And once there's a fire, there isn't any way to breathe. There's no emergency air breathing that I'm aware of. There's no pictures of it. There's no mention of it in the.
But there is. We've seen some videos. They do have oxygen tanks, which I'm assuming. I think under that mat that I was talking about. I was just kind of curious, how much stuff do they actually have under that mat?
The stat sheet, data sheet. So the test depth, like I said, was not verified. The atmosphere life support system, there's not enough details on that to really make a judgment. I would love to know more as to how they monitored life support and how they scrubbed the CO2 and other toxins like hydrogen and carbon monoxide. All that stuff takes equipment to do that. And if they were just dumping oxygen into this environment, by the time an hour and 40 minutes went by, they would have a high oxygen environment, just like Apollo 1. All right. There's no way to ventilate, that I'm aware of, the pressure hull. So once it does have a toxic gas or smoke, there's no way to get rid of it other than to surface and open the hatch. That's ridiculous and unsafe. There's no emergency air breathing for the people on board. There's no voice communications with topside, because Stockton Rush, in his interview with Teledyne, said that he was tired of being interrupted from topside with update requests, which is why he chose to go with the data acoustic modem that would transmit the position and depth of the submarine continuously so that he could enjoy his submarine ride.
Yeah, that's the huge one. And I was trying to do some research on that before I went live, but there was just so much. There's so much to this stuff. But that's huge. I think that's a huge no-no. Because, and I'll play that one more time for those that might have missed that.
Or smoke. There's no way to get rid of it other than to surface and open the hatch. That's ridiculous and unsafe. There's no emergency air breathing for the people on board. There's no voice communications with topside, because Stockton Rush, in his interview with Teledyne, said that he was tired of being interrupted from topside with update requests, which is why he chose to go with the data acoustic modem that would transmit the position and depth of the submarine continuously so that he could enjoy his submarine ride. So the Titan began its descent with 5 souls on board.
Okay, so that's pretty much that. So let me get to some comments here, and we'll kind of look to see if there's some updates. And just once again, I just thank you all for taking the time to watch the show. You guys are awesome. Miss Lori Smith, thank you so much for becoming a member and sponsoring this channel. You are so awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see what else we got. Does anyone know who this expert speaking is? Yeah, so like I said, I've got in the description right now, and in a minute I will put it in the comments, and I'll pin it at the top as well. The channel is called S-U-B Brief. It's pretty straightforward. Very intelligent guy. He understands the way submarines are built, and the dynamics of them. Very interesting. He breaks down a lot of like submarine wrecks and just a bunch of other things. I'm hoping he'll do maybe a follow-up video to this. Yeah, their cell phones would be dead at this point. Where would they have charged their phones? That's true, unless they're, on low battery, because obviously they're not making phone calls. They're not text messaging. They're not surfing the internet. So really, maybe if they went in there with a full phone charge, Um, it could last a couple of days, and then maybe they realize the situation, and maybe everybody's got phones with them, so maybe they kind of, you know, uh, using one battery at a time, one phone at a time, or something like that. Um, so hopefully that's the situation with the phones, because other than that, there's nothing really else you could do. Um, Thank you for the show tonight, Chris. Thank you so much, Michaela. Yeah, I've been watching this, and I was seeing maybe I'll do like a poll here in a bit. But yeah, I've been watching this since day one, just glued. 63 clocks. Thanks for doing such a great job on this info, Chris. Thank you so much. It means the world. I don't know everything, and we're gonna look at updates here in just a minute. I just wanted to kind of interact with you guys for a minute here, and um, backward says it's not really a submarine. Well, yeah, it's not a submarine. It's a submersible. Um, but yeah, there's talks that it's a MacGyver type piece of piece of craft that yeah, it's not getting. It's got some many concerns about it. So let's see. So I do have the press conference. Press conferences, I don't know. Maybe I'll ask you guys if you want to watch it. I'm sure a lot of you have seen it. It was today. It really wasn't much. I mean, it was exciting that we got those ships on the way, and so I do see some things that they're talking about. There's a lot of people, not a lot, but there's people coming forward about previous experiences working with OceanGate, had some bad experiences. I think there's even a lawsuit where somebody didn't get their money back because they pulled out last minute because they felt like this just didn't feel safe enough. So let me refresh this real quick here. So this was 18 minutes ago. Search intensifies for missing submersible as fears grow about dwindling oxygen supply. Here's what we know. Okay, we just talked about all of that. The vessel, operated by OceanGate Expeditions, began its 2-hour descent to the wreck Sunday morning. It lost contact with its mothership Polar Prince, the support ship that transferred the craft to the location to the North Atlantic. 1 hour and 45 minutes into the descent, they lost the signal. They wouldn't call the Coast Guard until 5:30, 5:45, I think. So it was many hours later. Do keep in mind, I'm thinking they're kind of just going off from all these experiences that we're hearing about how it's constantly losing contact with the mothership, that they just probably thought this was kind of a similar situation, that eventually, it'll eventually get in contact with us, or it'll just pop back up. And then after that window, which would have been, so it's like 2 hours approximately to drop down. They say, what was it? 4 to 5 hours to scan the wreckage, and then another 2 hours up. So you're looking at, so around 8 hours approximately. So, but as soon as that 8-hour window came up, they called the Coast Guard. What we know about the noises. Banging noises were identified by Canadian aircraft on Tuesday and Wednesday. So yesterday and today, by ROV equipment was relocated to where the noises were detected. But the searches in the area yielded negative results. Now keep in mind that these ROVs that they had at the time could not go all the way down to the bottom. So really, would they be able to see the thing? Because they're still a mile away from the bottom. So, maybe they were hoping to catch it, you know, either floating up or down or something. But if it's at the bottom, that's what they need this vessel that's coming, which should be arriving any time now. And it may be there. Okay, let's see. What could it be like on board? I mean, we talked about this. I talked about the 96 hours, which really we're down to 10 hours or less, if that's, and that's another thing that this guy brings up in his video is he wonders if that was even fully tested. Like, did they have 5 people in there for a day to see how much oxygen was consumed and then based it off that? Or is this really just something they put up on their website and it's just a ballpark and it could be more or it could be less? I think the best thing for now is, the banging being heard, today. I think that's great. Yeah, that's another big thing. OceanGate declined safety review of Titan submersible. They felt changes are going to probably be made. This is kind of like the Wild Wild West because it's outside of, this is in the middle of the ocean. There are 10 submarines in the world that can go 12,000 feet and deeper. All of them are certified except the OceanGate submersible. Wow. OceanGate CEO said in 2021 he broken some rules to make the now missing submersible. I really don't want to read a bunch of dirt on the guy. But it definitely sounds like they could have done a better job. Okay. We'll look at the ship here. Let me check the chat one more time. Did I go through everything on my list here? I think I did. Okay. All right, let me check the chat here for a minute. Yeah, I guess the 7 a.m., 9 a.m., I guess it just kind of depends on the time zone, but yeah, I would say tomorrow morning sometime would be the thing. Let's see here. Elizabeth, good to see you. I'm going to reach out to you here probably tomorrow. It's been pretty hectic, but thank you so much. Love this family. Member for 2 months already. Gosh, time flies. She's working on some artwork. She does artwork on the side. It's amazing. I'm gonna be putting some her website up here in the next live. Joni, I like that. I think they will be found. I think the biggest problem is if they're at the bottom, that's going to be really hard. It's going to be so close. I think I've got. Does this show the? Yeah, so this shows the victor, and I think this shows, so the two on the right, let me make sure I'm looking at the right thing. feet. Okay, so these vehicles here, from what they're saying, subs can dive up to 20,000 feet. So this Natali and this Victor 6000, they can go all the way down to the wreckage. And and so both the French ship has both of these. Okay, that's cool. So the French vessel that's coming, it's got not only the Victor, but it's also got this other one as well. So they got two submersibles that are coming. They can go all the way to the bottom, which is great. Hopefully they have some like kind of robotic arms. And I don't know if it's the same. I don't think it's the French vessel, but I think there's another vessel that has the cranes that they're going to try to use. And I think the concept that I seen on one of the videos on the news is that they were gonna, because you couldn't just drop a cable down because the cable would just, there's no way. I mean, it's like trying to, thread something really small. So I'm assuming they would drop the cable down, and then one of these submersibles would take the cable and bring it down to the bottom. And then it's too bad this vessel doesn't have like some kind of like hook on it, on the top or somewhere where you could just hook it. There are some things on the side, but man, that it sounds like they're gonna have one mission to get it right. I mean, but they have to still find the thing. That's the still crazy thing. My guess is gonna be somewhere in the Titanic wreckage. That would be my guess. Let's see, what do we got in here? 600. Care Bear, thank you, Chris, for all your hard work. This is most information I've gotten yet. Wonderful of you to cover this. Thank you so much. That means so much. I've tried to bring a. I was really trying to look up the exact kind of devices they use for communication. I kind of had an idea, but all this is, I have a little tech savvy, but I don't know that stuff. But I was trying to look it up, but I just didn't have enough time. Yeah, that's right, Teresa. Yeah, trying to get to it here. The Magellan said they could reach those depths. Yeah. And that's a great point, Jay Elliott. The deepest rescue in history was 1,500 feet. This is well over that. Yes. There was even a submarine. Was it a submarine? That was 300 feet, and they almost all of them passed away. They did save a few, but even that, and they had much more oxygen, and they still had trouble. And that's a big sub, and they knew where it was, and they still ended up losing most of the crew, sadly. So, okay, I missed. All right, let me go up here because clearly I missed some stuff here. Elizabeth, thank you for covering this, Chris. I'm so worried. I'm worried, so worried for them. Me too. Gosh, just anybody who's claustrophobic. I'm claustrophobic. I'm not 100%. I can kind of deal with it a little bit, but I'm tall, and yeah, and I get in tight spaces. I do start to panic. So, oh gosh, and if lights did run out, you're in the pitch black, and you can't go anywhere, and you're with 4 other people, and just terrible. But I would think they would have lights for the first 3 or 4 days. If they all had their phones, and they was being really smart about, because they can't really use the phone for anything else except for take pictures. So hopefully they had charged phones when they went down there. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. You are so awesome. Oh, okay. Oh, would you like to help Jocelyn? Okay. Let me just. Okay. All right. Thank you, Jocelyn. Okay. I'm gonna get to a few more here, and then I've got. Let's see, what time is it? So start at 5:30. Wow, it's been an hour and a half already. Okay, yeah, we'll kind of get ready to finish up here. I'm a 6-month mobber, Josh the Posh. Honor, thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. Yeah, that's so crazy to think about, Modine. You can dive, yeah, I don't know if you meant to put that many feet in, but yeah, you can dive crazy amounts of depth, but the problem is rescuing even half of that is almost near impossible, especially considering the size of the ship. That's the problem. So maybe I'll recap some of the most interesting things that I found interesting. For those who might have missed the first part of the show that I kind of went over. Let's see. So we talked about the oxygen. Obviously, everybody talks about the oxygen. I worry about the water situation because we've heard that they take like a sandwich and a bottle of water. There are ways to kind of prolong the water, if you guys know what I mean. There's, you can prolong that situation. And you do have 5, well, I guess it doesn't matter what male or female, but you got 5 guys, and if you got a cup, you can extend that. So, but some of the issues, one of the worst things would be a catastrophic failure to the hull, which would practically cause it to implode. And what would happen is you would get a minivan, get crushed down to the size of a can of tuna in a split second. That's the pure force that's of the the pressure down there. And if there was a crack in the hull and water came in first before the pressure thing happened, the pressure of the water coming into the vehicle would literally cut you in. Be lasers. I mean, everything. I mean, everything would be over before you even knew what happened. Obviously, but it doesn't sound like that's happened because if they're hearing tapping, then that's at least that hasn't happened. But I think it's a combination of 2 things: some kind of electrical issue. Hopefully no fire or anything, but that would probably lead to a catastrophic failure because. Especially in the beginning time, you could have more oxygen rich area, and that's bad with electronics. The big thing, and I think this is my theory on this, and let me know. Maybe I'll see if we have time. Maybe I'll do a short poll. So they're supposed to have fail safes. So what happens? When they drop this sub is they have what's called ballast, and these are actually what's used. These are like construction pipes, and they're on the submersible, and they're on there to weight it down, and it slowly goes down for about 2 hours till it reaches the bottom. And they do that, and they don't run the motors, so it's not like they're running the motor, going down, running the motor. They try to save as much energy, so they're really just dropping kind of free fall, even though it's not free fall speed, but they're dropping free fall down. And then as they get closer, they would kick on the engines, and then kind of without hitting the ground too hard. But these ballasts are meant to be released a couple of different ways to just allow them to float back to the top. But when they drop down to the Titanic, they'll go out a couple of miles because they don't want to drop directly down on the Titanic and have exactly what may have happened happen. They'll drop a few miles away, but in an interview with somebody that was on not this tour, but on another tour, they ended up getting close to the Titanic, and they ended up getting a current that hit them, and it sucked them into between the propeller and something, and they got stuck for almost an hour, and they even had like debris fall on top of them. And this poor guy thought it was it. Even had a voice telling him this is it. And the pilot and everybody kept calm, and they just kept kind of shimmying the controls, and they finally were able to get out, luckily. So I wonder if it's a combination of them going down, having electrical problems, so when they get towards the bottom, they can't, counteract the momentum going down, and so they kind of slam down, and they end up getting pushed in the current and end up somewhere in the wreck, and they're stuck. Which means this is like the main fail-safe for this vehicle, for these things to just be released, and then you're you go floating back up. But it sounds like that did not happen. But the good news is they're here in pounding for the last 2 days, and we've got all these vehicles, which the French vehicle and another one that got ROVs and a big winch that they can bring down, hopefully all the way to the bottom. So, but right now, as far as we know, I'll check the Twitter real quick. They just they got to find it. They still got to find these four people. Eight hours ago. Oh, it's not. That's a key hacker. It's supposed to be northeast. I've got the wrong one. Is it this one? Well, let me type in this. This will be better. Titan. Oh, and there's one other thing that's been going around. This is not the Titan, is it? There's one other thing that's been going around is a supposed audio. What in the heck is all these videos? I don't know if you guys heard about that. If you heard that there's audio. Now, I don't know if it's the real audio. Doing this job for nearly 2 years now, there's always something like this that comes out, and we have no idea if it's it. If you guys want me to play it, I could play it. It's 30 seconds long. I'm not saying it's the audio of the thing. Let me know in the chat if you want to hear it. There it is. Let me see what you guys say in the chat. I right now I'm going to say I don't know if that's it or not. Yeah, Becky, let's keep hoping and praying for them. A miracle. It is. Totally agree. Yeah, that's a good that's a good question, David Gray. Are those other submersibles able to drag the Titan if they find it? They said that those vehicles could not do it. It would have to be by bringing some kind of line down, and then they could use the submersible somehow to help, because some of these have like robotic arms, and hopefully they could tie it up, and then it would get pulled up. But these machines would not be able to pull it up by themselves. Maybe they could do something to shimmy them out. Like maybe it's just they're barely stuck, and maybe they could do something to kind of knock it a little bit, just to kind of get it off, if it was just kind of barely stuck, which let's pray maybe that could be the case. And they really just need a little nudge to allow the ballasts to release, and then they could just come up to the top without having to do that. You guys want to hear it? Okay. Like I said, the audio, I have no idea. This, honestly, it doesn't sound like an SOS message. It's missing some of the, it's kind of got the S, but then it's missing like the other S. It's like, so I'll play it. Don't take this as the real deal. Actually, is this the one? Why does that say 3 seconds? That's not the one. Let me see here. I just don't see why they would release the audio of it. To me it sounds like really close, and we've seen this happen many times before. So all right, let me 1 second. I know. Saw him have it. Oh, let's see what he says though. Let's see what Nerdy Addict says with his latest. Okay, so 2 hours ago, 10 knots. So here's the French vehicle, and this looks like, so it looks like the French vehicle is either there or pretty darn close, which is great news because this is the vehicle that could make or break what happens. Okay, here it is. All right, like I said, don't put stock in this. This is most likely fake. So that's it. I would lean more towards but I don't know for 100% one way or the other. But don't right now we don't know that's it. And that's not quite the SOS message because I did listen to that a couple times because the message would be 3 quick taps, then 3 kind of pronounced, which are called dashes. So it'd be kind of 3 fast ones, then 3 slow ones, followed by 3 fast ones, and that's SOS. You do kind of hear it, the first one, but then the others are, and it sounds like it's way too close to me. Yeah, I think it's fake, but yeah. Let me know. Has anybody heard anything before we go here? Let me know in the chat if there's anything you guys came across that I may have missed that you may want me to look up. If it imploded, would there be debris that would be seen? Oh God, probably not. Call me Kitty. From what I've heard a couple of people, experts talk about it, especially if it just imploded and then just went down to the soil, it would disappear, sadly. So yeah, something like a can of tuna, can of beans type thing. I think the French vessel is there. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Before I got on, I noticed it was pretty darn close. So that's great. I mean, I don't know what exactly time it is out there. Obviously, it's hours ahead of my time. So, I mean, we are talking 10 hours less if they have that 96-hour window. But you never know. I mean, somebody could have sadly had a heart attack, which means now there's only 4 people having oxygen, which would increase the survival rate. So there's so many variables, and there's so many crazy stories that have happened that the soccer team that went into the cave and they it's on Netflix, and they thought they were done for and they made it out. So 9:20, it's East Coast, 9:20 p.m. here. Okay, interesting. T 2014, 10:20 p.m. in Nova Scotia, 10:15 10:50 p.m. in Newfoundland. Yeah, I guess that would be kind of the time in Newfoundland would probably be the closest. So, yeah, I totally agree. So just, oh, I did want to give a shout out real quick. Oh gosh, I hope I didn't miss it. Um, a huge shout out. I'll find it, but I can't see it right now. Somebody donated, I think Cash App or something like that. I think it was Claire. So shout out to you, Claire. I think it was Claire. So thank you so much. Donations really help out the channel, and um, just everybody being here and hitting the like button if you could, please. It really helps. And let's see. Anything else? But so just a couple of things before we go. So there's going to be the Delphi document going to be got to be either released tomorrow or Friday, unless there's some kind of issue that happens. But man, I'm kind of bummed if they do get released tomorrow, because tomorrow's going to be huge. I mean, by the time I wake up, really it's going to be at that deadline of their thing. So I think like right now a big mission is going to start. This is kind of like the doer, this is it type deal. So I usually don't go live on Thursdays. I usually have an upload, but I may go live tomorrow. My usual schedule for those that are new to the channel, and thank you for subscribing. I go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and then sometimes we do a members live on Sunday. And then I'm always uploading content for my members. Another great way to support me is become a Patreon. Links in the description and in the chat. Before I go, just a couple more things, so don't go yet. Let me get that link to you guys. So if you want to see that guy's video, link to sub brief. And like I said, I found it fascinating. I played about 40% of it. Great insight on how the thing was built on Titans. Sounded like inside of a barrel. Yeah, sounding doesn't. I have a little experience in audio, but yeah, that sounds too good. Although I mean, I don't know. I don't know much about acoustic sounds and what's normal and what's not. Prancer, thank you for this live. Very informative. Thank you so much. That means so much to me to hear that you guys enjoyed the live stream. I mean, that really makes my day. You guys are so awesome, and I really appreciate it. Everybody's been very positive. I know some people understand that this is a situation that's really, I mean, when you ask experts, they say this is really not going to have a good outcome, just because they're just going off previous experience that with subs and just underwater recoveries. And then with the situation where this vehicle is a minivan sized vehicle, it's not a sub, it's it's this little thing. It's literally a needle in the ocean that they're trying to find. So I mean, they are just up against the toughest thing. Chris, how does carbon dioxide affect them? Yeah, you would start. So they have what's called scrubbers. Now, don't ask me exactly how scrubbers work. I'm still learning everything as I was big research in this case, but they're kind of spread out the vehicle or whatever. But they're supposed to kind of scrub out as you breathe out, and kind of circulate it back into oxygen. And I think it's kind of vice versa. They try to regulate these so-called scrubbers that you put around the ship. But yeah, obviously it gets too heavily focused on one or the other. Then of course, when you're starting to run low on oxygen, you're releasing more of that bad stuff. Then you get, CO2, and then you'll start hallucinating. You get, it's just not good. If they start, it does damage to your body. It's kind of like carbon monoxide poisoning, and it's not good. Whoa, what? No way. Oh gosh. That's crazy, Caitlin. I hope that's not true. My goodness. In Idaho is all places? That's crazy. Sharon, thank you so much. I really enjoyed this live. Also, praying for safe recovery. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. That's a great question. Yeah, that's one of the things. There were so many things that I wanted to research that I just didn't get enough time. There's just so many things I was trying to put together to make sure I had a decent video for you guys and some interesting things. But yeah, I'll maybe do a part 2 sometime down the road. I might have a short video. Thank you so much, Michelle. You need to make your picture smaller. Oh, for like watching videos. Yeah, I'm gonna try to build in something where when I switch over to like videos or something, or like presentation, I'm gonna try to do that. Thank you so much, Jilly. Okay, one thing so I don't forget. So we got. Do we got them? Oh, they didn't save into here yet today. No. Sorry, duckies. All right, they'll have to come up next time. They should have been in here. That's weird. Okay, well, just one more time, thank you to all my wonderful mods for all your hard work. Yeah, I've got to check out that Idaho thing. Gosh, I hope there's not another quadruple homicide. Gosh, too many bad things going on. So yeah, good chance I'll be live tomorrow. That's not usually my normal day, but I think something big's gonna go down. I mean, you've got this thing coming to a very scary situation with the time running out, and then Delphi case. They're supposed to be releasing documents, and it sounds like there could be quite a few documents. So I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I go ahead and play my outro. It's my pet outro. Towards the end of the month, I'll ask people to send in some pet photos from my viewers, and then we play a little outro at the end, showcasing my viewers' pets. Just kind of a way to say thank you for taking the time to watch the show and support my channel, because I would be here without you guys. So. Burpsy, Teresa, beautiful soul. Yeah, Teresa had some amazing comments. So did everybody. Sharon, great life, Chris. As always, love and respect everyone. Thank you guys so much. Shout out to Honor Secrets. She just put out a video. If you want to check it out, she doing some stuff about her ERI stuff. So very fascinating stuff. So if you want to go check her out and subscribe, that's Honor Secrets. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and play the outro. I love you guys, and we will see you guys tomorrow.